controlled by what I call the Demiurge. The Demiurge is simply a substitute for infinite intelligence. It's a substitute for God, if you will. If you think of it in terms of the story of Lucifer, when we decided to question our divinity and we decided to think all by ourselves rather than along with the infinite, and we decided that we were separate, then we had to create a substitute for that from which we wanted to separate. Individually, we call that the ego, and collectively, we can call that the Demiurge. The Demiurge isn't real, and neither is the ego, but it seems real, and it enslaves us. The way that we are enslaved is by believing that this world is something other than what it is. Our minds are creative. We create. That's what we're here to do. We are here to create. And when we use our minds to project fear rather than love, then we create a fearful world. And that is the Demiurge. That is the ego. It's not that it's bad. It's not that it's evil. We're not wrong. It's just that it's not real. It's in the realm of a hallucination, a nightmare. You could think about the fall from grace as merely meaning falling asleep and having a bad dream. So ultimately, there's nothing for us to do but wake up because we're safe in reality. But in our minds, we are having a nightmare. One of the ways that the ego mind, which is something that we've programmed ourselves, by the way, I'd like to be very clear that there is no objective demiurge. There is no objective ego. But we believe that we see what we see and feel what we feel and experience what we experience here because we have gotten into a habit of thinking of things in a certain way. And the certain way that we think about things from an egoic point of view is a fearful way of seeing and thinking of things. And we project that which we believe, we project that which we are thinking onto the screen of space and interact with it as if it were real. And it does feel real. When your body hurts, it hurts. When people abandon you, you feel abandoned. When people betray you, you feel betrayed. This world is a very real experience from the perspective of the experiencer. But isn't that true of any good nightmare? The nightmare wouldn't be very effective if while you're having it, you didn't believe it. It would be funny. It'd be silly. Same thing with a horror movie. When the horror movie is not very well done and you can't suspend disbelief in it, it's not a good movie. And you don't want to watch it because this is so stupid. A good horror movie is done in such a way that you suspend disbelief and you forget you're in a theater or watching a television. You believe in those images in front of you. And that's the same for us. This world does seem real. And so we're never wanting to give the false impression when we talk like this that, oh, it's just an illusion, so why bother worrying about it? Nothing to be concerned with. It's just an illusion. No, within the illusion, within the realm of our day-to-day lives, it is real. These things are real. But understanding the origins of these so-called real experiences starts to give us power to dismantle them. One of the ways that our ego mind habitually creates this chaos for us is through habitual worry. Worry is a very valuable tool to the ego mind because with worry, we tend to spend a great deal of time thinking along certain lines. We have this erroneous belief that if we don't worry, that we are more vulnerable. And when you understand how creation works and the basic metaphysics of living, and therefore what the basis of all magic is, that focused thought creates experience, it starts to make sense that habitual worry is the opposite of that which keeps us safe. It does not keep us safe. It puts us into more vulnerable experiences. We tend to worry as a way of life, and we are supported in worrying as a way of life. And in fact, if you don't worry about things, people look at you like you're doing something wrong. What's wrong with you that you're not worried about this? What's wrong with you that you're happy? How dare you be happy? And so we don't get a lot of support in this world in overcoming worry, because we all conspire in this need to keep the illusion alive. And the illusion that we tend to just go along with is that things are getting worse, not better. And we never question that. We don't question that. We don't question whether that's true. We just are worried about it. And we get into the snowball effect of that worry. But if you understand what divine presence is, if you understand what the divine presence really is, you realize there is no reason to worry. You realize that this really is a world of illusion. You realize that there really is no problem, that all of our problems have already been solved. From the perspective of infinite intelligence, we're asleep, we're safe, all is well. And what we need is to wake up. And we need to wake up gently. The worst thing you want to do when somebody's having a bad nightmare is go, wake up! It increases their panic. It increases their fear. You want to gently wake them up. Gently. And that's exactly what infinite intelligence wants to do for us, is gently awaken us. So one of the ways that we can be gently awakened is by recognizing that presence exists. And since that presence exists, in that presence of infinite intelligence, there is no reason to worry. Just like in the presence of light, there is no darkness. In the presence of peace, there is no tension. The benefits of experiencing that divine presence on a regular basis is that worries tend to start to melt away. And we understand the world for what it is. And we start to realize that we are in this world, but not actually of this world. And therefore, once we start to overcome our worries, we can gently help other people overcome their worries as well. And as people start to worry less, we start to wake up more, because the things that we're worried about cease to have power over us. Think about worry as being dust on a shelf. And the more you allow that dust to fall, and the more paralyzed you are and afraid you are to clean the dust off the shelf, the more the dust seems to settle on that shelf. People, when they think of a dirty mind or a filthy mind, they think of something sexual. But really, a dirty or filthy mind is a mind that we've allowed to become dusty with worry. That's a real dirty mind, not a sexually oriented thought, but a worry-oriented thought. So the more that we allow that dust to settle and pile up, the more challenging it is for us to want to confront that dust. But once we realize that it's just dust, it's only dust, we can spray some furniture polish on a cloth and wipe it off. And how do you do that? By allowing yourself to experience the divine presence that is always within you. Think about the divine presence that's always within you. What's beating your heart right now? What's causing you to breathe? What heals a cut on your finger? What causes the planets to revolve around the sun? What causes embryos to turn into babies? What causes photosynthesis? What causes the expansion of the universe? What causes the orderly unfolding of nature? What causes this ecosystem to occur the way it does? What causes all of this? That's the divine presence. The divine presence doesn't seem to be worried about anything. It's we who are worried. So when we start to call upon within ourselves that same divine presence that's already beating our hearts and will continue to enliven us even after our hearts stop beating, because we don't need just one physical body, we have all kinds of bodies. People that are working with a witch's primer know that you can actually do bodybuilding with other bodies. You don't only have the physical body. So once the physical body dies, that's just part of the illusion that you were a body. And you'll realize that I'm still alive. The point of understanding all of that is that there's nothing to worry about. Now, I'm not saying that if you have concerns in the physical world that you shouldn't address them. If you get that little bit of I forgot to pay my phone bill, go ahead and pay it. So just don't worry about it. But you don't fret over it. You just pay it. Or if you can't pay it, you call them and make an arrangement. But you don't just sit and fret over it, letting the dust settle more and more on the shelf of your mind. You clean that dust off and you do something about it. If you can't do something about it, you stop worrying about it. The ego mind wants you to believe that all of your problems are so complicated and they require a great deal of worry, when in reality, they are not complicated at all. You either do something or you don't do it. Either way, you have the ability to have peace of mind if you take a stand, if you decide. A lot of times we're worried about things that if we were to just turn and face those worries and to just put reason to them and reason it out, we'd realize, why am I worried about this? For instance, if you are worried about the environment, it's good to be concerned about the environment. It's good to want to do everything that you can do in order to allow the environment to be healed. That's wonderful. That's fabulous. But to sit and worry about it, and then we're going to have this happen, and then we're going to have this happen, then we're going to have that happen. Just sit and think about that for a minute. How is that helping? How is that making anything better? If you sit and fret over something that you really don't have any control over, you have no control over what goes on with the environment other than what you can do in your day-to-day life. And if you're doing what you can do in your day-to-day life, maybe there's some other things that you can do. Maybe you can get involved with organizations, and maybe you can get involved politically. But sitting and fretting over it and worrying about what's going to come in the future, what that really is arrogance. It's a type of arrogance that you know something about the future. You are so upset because you have this power to see something in the future, but you don't know what's coming in the future. You have no idea what's coming in the future. I don't care how psychic you think you are. You may understand where you think we're headed, and you can make predictions based on that, but you don't know what's coming. You don't know all the things that are possible. You do know, at this point, and most of you that are listening to this have some idea that our thoughts can have an influence over what's coming. So if you're worried about it, if you're fretting over something, how are you helping? And aren't you possibly even hurting? Again, I'm not saying don't take action where you can take action, but if you're taking action, you're no longer worrying. You're doing what you can. So just dissecting your worries, sitting and thinking about, wait a minute, why am I so worried about this? Why is this that I'm so worried about this? What is it that I can do about this? And if you can do something about it, worrying is not the same as doing. And if you can't do something about it, worrying is actually contributing to the problem. Worries are shadows in our minds. And the light of truth will shine those shadows away. And that light of truth already exists within you. And that is coming again from the point of view of sitting in the presence of the divine that exists within you. That's the way to deal with worry. Because you're going straight to the source where there is no reason to worry. There are no worries. You're going to the solution to all problems. I knew somebody who was having chronic headaches, and they spent so many months worrying that they had a brain tumor. And finally I said, you got to go to the doctor, right? Go to the doctor and find out what's happening. I'm so afraid, I'm so worried, but you've got to go and find out. You got to find out the truth. Even if you do have a brain tumor, at least you'll know. At least we'll have an idea of what the next step is. But this is horrible. Of course, they went to the doctor, and luckily they did not have a brain tumor, but they were diagnosed with stress-induced chronic headaches. The stress was from worry. They were worried about all kinds of things, causing them to have stress-induced headaches, which caused them to worry about the headaches and start to concoct a story about the origin of the headaches, which was untrue. And they spent months in this fear and this worry about something that wasn't really happening, that was actually created from the worry. It's just an example of what worry does for us. It keeps us locked into the illusion. Now, even if they were right, what they had a brain tumor or whatever, you got to know what you got to know. If that's the truth, that you've got a brain tumor, knowing that you've got a brain tumor, you can at least know what the next step is. And even if it's a diagnosis that it's fatal and there's nothing you can do about it, at least you don't have anything to worry about because you know the truth and you've been set free, right? It's much better than sitting in this worry, constant worry. And remember what that worry is there for. It's not just an accident. That worry is there because we have concocted a habit of thinking to keep us stuck in an illusion, to keep us stuck in a nightmare. And worry is one of the main tools of that ego mind. But when we start to experience the presence of divinity within us, there is no worry. And that's why when people come to me with chronic worry, and when I'm dealing with chronic worry, if they're open to it, I ask them to sit with one of the Psalms, one of the contractual Psalms especially, Psalm 23, Psalm 91, just sitting and thinking about those truths. Because the truths within those Psalms, those magic seeds that exist within those Psalms, are powerful antidotes to worry. And they seek out all of the worry cells in our mind and completely obliterate them. And there's other ways. If Psalms aren't your thing and you don't like Psalms, there's all kinds of ways that you can be proactive against worry. But you have to take a stand. When you notice yourself worrying, recognize that you are using the creative powers of your mind against yourself. And you must take a stand. The first thing I always do when I notice myself worrying is ask, what can I do about the situation I'm worried about? What actions can I take? And I take those actions. And if there are no actions, then I must let go of the worry. Either way, I have to let go of the worry. I take action to let go of the worry. And if there's no action to take, I let go of the worry. Either way, I am released from the prison of that ego, of that demiurge. It's very powerful to remind ourselves frequently that this world is a world of death. Nothing lasts here. That's comforting. I know it's scary, but remember, that's only scary to the ego. It's comforting to the soul because there's nothing to worry about. Your body's not going to survive this world. The illness won't last forever. The problems won't last forever. But the successes won't last forever either. So enjoy your journey here. Do everything you can to have joy while you're here and to bring joy to other people. That's what we're here for. This short time that we're here, this is just a little nightmare. Within the nightmare, we can start waking ourselves and other people up, bringing joy where we can find it, wherever we're led. We are here to help each other wake up to the fact that this too shall pass. Now, if you're really addicted to needing certain things to stay a certain way, that's bad news for you. If you really believe that your identity is wrapped up in your house and your family and your career and all of these things that are going on here, knowing that they won't last might give you some distress. But once you recognize that it's true, whether you want it to be true or not, that this won't last here, you can start enjoying your time here. Even in the midst of your problems, you can recognize the problems aren't going to last, but the good times aren't going to last either, so I may as well enjoy them. Either way, there's nothing to worry about because I'm not going to be here forever. It's a beautiful release when you realize it. I know it sounds depressing at first, but it's really not. It's actually something to celebrate. This is a temporary world. We live in a temporary life. So instead of wasting our time here worrying, we can be proactive in seeking the joy, in seeking the beauty, and enlivening others and helping other people have a better experience in this life by extending that joy to other people, by extending that love to other people. Everybody's got trials. Everybody's got tribulations. That's this world. That's part of the nightmare. Some people's trials and tribulations seem a lot worse than others. But if somebody's trials and tribulations that are in your path seem worse than yours, perhaps you are put in their path so that you can help relieve some of those trials and tribulations. If you're doing that, you're not worrying. If somebody's there to help you, if you say yes to that help, you're not worrying, you're receiving. Allowing divine presence to instill peace on a regular basis is a discipline. If you don't have a regular spiritual practice, it might be a good idea for you to consider developing one, especially if you notice that you worry a lot. Because infinite intelligence's will is not for us to worry. And we only will know that if we sit and experience that presence on a regular basis. Through meditation, through magic, through ritual, through psalmic practice, whatever you use, whatever your path is, you'll understand that if you really are experiencing that life principle within you, that you have no reason to fear, you have no reason to worry, because you recognize that there's a power greater than your body, a power greater than your circumstances, a power greater than this physical world, a power that is eternal, unlike this world. Inner peace is our primary goal if we're wise. That's why whenever I do talismans and things like that, I always put that on as my top goal, peace. Because if I have peace, then I have an all-inclusive experience. Everything I need in any situation is included. When I have peace of mind and I have peace within my body, then the health that I need is there. The prosperity that I need is there. The relationships that I need are there. Whatever is necessary to support that peace is included. So if I go for the peace in any moment of time or point of space, then all of my other problems tend to get solved on one level or another. They either get solved in the objective reality of this world, or they don't bother me anymore. When I hear a news story, and I'm coming from the point of view of inner peace, I can send blessings to that news story. Whereas if I'm not coming from the point of view of inner peace, when I hear a news story, I start to worry. I get tense. I get upset. I start to have an opinion. And when we start having opinions, we tend to start to worry. We tend to start having tension. You see it a lot, like online, people have opinions about things. I think this, I think that, I think this, I think that. Who cares what you think? How is that helping? We don't need your opinion. It's not helpful. All it's doing is making you churn. Having an opinion about a news story, having an opinion about a politician, having an opinion about a celebrity, having an opinion about other people in the world. What that does is it creates more and more tension inside of you, more and more worry inside of you. If you let go of needing to have an opinion about things, then what you can do is notice there's a lack of peace. This situation calls for my blessing, not my opinion. This situation calls for my extension of peace, not my judgment. Now, I'm not saying that you have to give up all of your opinions all the time, but recognize that usually an opinion about certain things is a trick of the ego to keep you stuck in tension, because you can't extend your blessing, you can't extend your peace if you have an idea or a judgment about who's right and who's wrong. When in reality, if that situation is placed upon your path, it's calling for one thing and one thing only from you, and that's peace of mind. Because it's just an illusion, ultimately. And so if you can extend that peace to whatever that situation is that's crossing your path, then you are starting to undo that web of worry that's tying you to the illusion, and then start getting yourself freed from the illusion. And when you start becoming freed from the illusion, your job then is to extend that blessing to everybody else who's still more tied to the illusion than you are. And it starts to have a ripple effect. And there's this wave of determination that starts coming over the collective consciousness of humanity. Everybody's talking about how Pluto's entering Aquarius. Okay, I'm not really into transits, but I do like these large transits like that, these really slow moving transits that deal with generations. This is a wonderful time for us to start to unplug from the illusion and start to wake up from the nightmare, because Pluto, this planet of the collective unconsciousness of humanity, is moving into Aquarius. And Aquarius is the sign of enlightenment and awakening. So this is a wonderful time for us to start to drop our worries so that we can extend love into every single relationship that we find ourselves in, every single condition that we find ourselves in, and allow ourselves to be used by infinite intelligence to help everybody to start to gently wake up to the fact that we're much bigger than this world. We're much bigger than these problems. We're much bigger than politics. We're much bigger than world events. We're bigger than the environment. We're bigger than everything. Our souls are huge. Our souls are giants. We are all spiritual giants. And when we start to wake up to that fact, things start to heal. And if I was going to start to predict the future, whatever the problem is, there's going to be an app for that. There's going to be a solution for that. And all of these things that we're so worried about are going to be nothing. It's going to be absolutely nothing, because we are all primed to start waking up gently from the illusion and making new decisions about how to use the creative powers of our mind towards solutions rather than worry. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. Until next time, blessed be.